So I was talking to the waitress at the Waffle House where I had breakfast 2-3 hours ago. And she asked me where I was from. I said, Miami. She said, oh, I used to live in Miami, in South Florida. And I said to her, I said, you know, you're living in Lake City. Obviously you moved because you wanted a more hectic way of life. So this is this fantasy I had about this waitress at the Waffle House. And she was a good-looking gal, young. Of course, someone in a gal in her 40s, to me, is young. I mean, that could be granddaughter material for me. Anyways, this is the fantasy I had. We're talking, and she's telling me how she likes to play nickel slots when she goes to a casino. I said, well, you know, there's something we have in common, playing nickel slots. But my fantasy was, I was going to ask her, I said, why don't you come with me on this trip? And I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1,000 gambling money. Now, if you want to play nickel slots, go ahead and you can keep the rest of it. But you get a free room. I already got rooms booked. I'll buy all the meals. And you get $1,000 to gamble with. But then I had a caveat in this fantasy. Of course, if you are married or you have a boyfriend that's bigger than me, the deal is off. So, in my fantasy, she threw off her waitress apron. It said, let's go. So we get on a highway in this fantasy, and we're heading for Biloxi like right now. And she's sitting over there in that empty seat. And in this fantasy, I look over at her, and I say, this is after about 3 hours after I met her. In this fantasy, I said to her, let's get married. I said, look, if we get married, there's another $1,000 in it for you. My further fantasy with the Lake City Waffle House waitress. So I ask her to marry me, and she doesn't give me an answer. But then what she does is she pulls out a pistol and points at me. She's sitting right over there in that empty seat. She pulls out a pistol and aims it at me. And she says, pull over, sucker. I'm taking this car and give me all your money. In which I have to sheepishly reply, unfortunately, I do not have that much money with me, but I can write you a check for the balance. Furthermore, in this waitress fantasy, I pull over, she takes the car, she takes all my money, and makes me write her a check for the rest. And then she says, take all your clothes off and leave it in the car. And I say to her, I will take all my clothes off and leave it in the car, but can I please at least keep my Yeehaw Junction hat? And then she says to me, of course you can keep that stupid Yeehaw Junction hat. And as I'm getting out of the car with no clothes on except this hat, I say to her, does this mean we're not getting married now? And she says, well, of course we're still getting married. But it's not going to be one of those cheap deals where you just buy a pizza with everything on it. Before she speeds away with my car, with my clothes, with my check for the balance, I say to her, is it okay that I can call you sometimes? She says, of course, and hands me her phone number, then takes off. So several months later, I work up the courage to call her. and someone answers the phone and I say, is this Wanda, Ellen, Sue, May, Belinda, Katrina, Wilson? And she says, "Hey, Guinness, hey, no, Guinness." After failing to contact the waitress, surprisingly, several months later, she calls me. Well, she calls me because she's got my cell phone and my ID, my wallet, everything. So she knows who I am. So she calls me and she says, you know, I'm very sorry about what happened. I feel terrible about it. I don't know, I was just strung out on drugs and I acted stupidly. And your car, I wrecked it. Your money, I spent it. Your check, I cashed it and lost all that gambling. I am truly sorry for what I did. And I would like to make it up to you. I said, well, how are you going to make it up to me? She says, the next time you pass through Lake City, I'd like you to stop at the Waffle House and I am going to give you a free cup of coffee with your breakfast. I said, oh, thank you very much. I said, by the way, is that your real name? Wanda, Belinda, Sue, May, Lynn, Cinderella, Veronica, Walter? She says, no, I lied to you. My real name is B. She says, yes, that's my real name, B. B-E-E. Like, you know that bug that flaps its wings real fast and stings you in the butt and makes your whole body swell up? Well, that's me, B. And then she says to me, I see your name is Cordy Typo. She says, is that your real name? I says, yes, my real name is Cordy Typo. But my friends all call me Cordy Typo. Oh, she says, then I'll call you Cordy Typo too, I hope.